Welcome to Bet On. I am Kelly Stewart at Kelly in Vegas on Twitter, joined by, of course, the two men of the show that make you guys a ton of money, Marco D'Angelo at Marco in Vegas, and Gianni the Greek at Greek_Gambler. You guys, I'm really amped for this week, particularly in college football, not so much in NFL. I know I was kind of complaining before we started the show, and I said, God, I hate this week's NFL card. I just spent so much time yesterday looking at it, and I just couldn't find anything that I love. And then Marco just has to chime in and say what?
I absolutely love this NFL card this week. I'm going to have a monster card for my clients. I'm sounding like Gianni. I love the card this week, but I really do. So we'll see. We're going to have a lot of plays, and some of them are going to be right here on the show. So stay tuned.
I'm looking forward to it, Marco, because I need a lot of help this week. It was a struggle to find my best bet. VR, what are your thoughts on NFL week number 10?
I'll tell you, just so that the viewers know, I haven't put a lot of work in. From what's jumped out, I've given out a couple plays. I got a lot of information, but I'm still sorting it out and putting it all together. It's only Wednesday morning. I spent all day at Apex yesterday at the UFC for Contender Series. So I usually have my 3 sheets out with the one group that's the volume group, the group that keys in, and then some other stuff. And right now I have it all on, as you can see, like one piece of paper. Haven't even color coordinated my stuff yet. So you're going to have to bear with me as I try to piece it all together. But at the end, if we have a couple minutes, I could fire off some gold. I even have some Masters stuff that someone just sent me. If you guys bet up, that I could pass along as well. So we have stuff to share. Excited about the show, and hopefully this weekend we make some money as well.
I love it. We've got UFC gold, Masters gold, VR. We're just going to start calling you the Leprechaun. Let's get into the Thursday night, game. The Colts at the Titans. It looks like this one opened about Tennessee -1.5. Currently -2. I think we did for a brief moment in time see some 2.5s out there. Total 50.5, now down to 48.5 with our friends over at the Westgate. Still some 49s hanging around here in Vegas. Marco, I'm going to go to you first. Your thoughts on this Thursday night game. I know it looks like a perfect teaser opportunity for me.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with the teaser part of this game, Kelly. But I'm going to actually give you guys the total in this game. And I'm looking at the total. And, you know, this is a key AFC South matchup. Thursday night, short week for everybody, but it's a division game. So no real disadvantage. We always talk about the Thursday road teams at a disadvantage. When you're playing a team twice a year in your division, you know what to prep for. But I'm going to go with the over in this game. And you might say, wow, both teams are coming off low-scoring games last week. Why are you looking at the over? Well, I'm going to steal a line from my buddy VR there. And you know how he says styles make fights? Well, the style of the 2 games last week totally dictated low-scoring games. Take a look at the Tennessee game. They played Chicago. Chicago's offense has just been horrific the last several weeks. So they were never going to expose that Tennessee defense. And Tennessee had a lead most of the game, and they were content with just running the ball and getting out of there. And that's why he had a low-scoring game in that one. And let's not forget, Chicago's defense is still good and keeps them, kept Tennessee in check. Then we flip to the other game and look at Indianapolis. They played a Baltimore team. What's their MO? I'm going to run first, pass second. And when they have the lead, they're just going to keep pounding that football down your throat, milking clock and chewing it. Now it's going to be a totally different game. Indianapolis will have more success moving the football against Tennessee. They'll expose that defense. And then what happens when Indianapolis scores? Well, Tennessee's got to answer. And that's where we're going to get this thing over the 48.5. I see both teams going up and down the field. I like this one. I'm projecting 54 or more points in this one, Kelly. I'm on the over for Thursday night.
I like it. I have a feeling it's going to be similar to what we saw on Monday when VR talked about liking the over and the whole world thought the under was the easiest play. That's what Thursday night football looks like to me. All right, Leprechaun, do you have some gold for us on Thursday night?
I actually do because I bet this game. But we're going to have to you already know because I'll tell you now, but it's also going to go to this teaser segment because I released a premium. This is actually a 4% play where I did tie up the Indianapolis Colts at +8, and you'll get the other team when we do our teaser segment. I made the line Tennessee -1. So I didn't see enough line value to take the Indianapolis Colts at +2 or 2.5. And if any of the groups I work with came in on that side, then I probably would have piggybacked it as well, getting that confirmation. But I do think the line's pretty much where it is, where at -110, you're really not finding any kind of edge. This is a huge game, divisional game. And the big difference is Tennessee's 2-0 in division. Indianapolis is 0-1. This is a big game for the Colts. You don't want to fall behind 2 games to Tennessee now, especially when you look around the AFC with, Baltimore, Vegas, Miami. They're all going to be vying for wild cards if they don't win the division. So this is huge for Indianapolis. And as good as Tennessee has played as far as taking a step forward from last year, and that's what you want to do as a team, I don't think their defense is anywhere close to where they need to be a leader of a division like where they sit right now. I mean, this team's played 8 games and they allowed 27 or more points in 5 of them, 30 or more points in 4 of their 8 games. You have to fix that if you're going to win divisions. Where I think the Colts, they look like a team. Again, I prefer maybe Rivers has done okay. I prefer if they had a stud be back there, a younger guy maybe. But I do think the Colts are the kind of team that should win this division when all the dust settles. I really do. Even though I have Tennessee power rated a point higher, I do think that long term the Colts will end up being the better team when it's all said and done. So I lean Colts here. I agree with Marco on the over, and I see this line coming down. None of the groups I work with bet the under, so I'm not sure where that adjustment is coming from, but I do agree with the over. Haven't bet it, haven't bet the side, but I do have a teaser with the Colts at +8.
All right, Vera, I'm going to stick with you for Sunday Night Football. We have the Baltimore Ravens taking on the New England Patriots. This one opened 6.5 now, sitting 7 pretty much across the board. There's a couple 7.5s offshore. Looks like the total is around 43.5. This one's ticked up from the opener of 40.5. This is tough. I mean, look, the Patriots looked downright terrible on Monday night to the Jets, yet I'm kind of looking in their direction here for this week. I know we'll get to them in the teaser segment, but it looks all too easy to put the Baltimore Ravens in a teaser for this week.
And it's funny, I even forgot this was the Sunday night game because I changed my barking dog. Yesterday, I sent out as my barking dog the Carolina Panthers at +5. But then this morning, Gold comes through. One of my main sources comes in and asks me to get him some Tampa Bay -5. So I'm like, oh shit, I'm on Tampa Bay because it kind of makes sense and I respect this guy. Anyway, make a long story short, so I went to New England because this is one of those dogs that I'm actually going to bet and release as a premium play. I'm just hoping to get 7.5 without having to pay 20 cents. I'm cheap like that. And hopefully it gets there because I see a lot of exposure for the books on Baltimore, not just on straight bet Sunday night, but add in the teasers, add in the parlays on the money line from earlier in the day. And I think they're going to invite New England money and stealing a line from Marco's book. And I've learned a lot working with him over this last decade. No team's ever as good or as bad as they look in any one given week. And that's so true. It holds true in everything, where we should never overreact to any single outcome. And yet that's going to be the knee-jerk reaction because we all just watch the worst team in football, the New York Jets, actually have a double-digit lead or pretty much close to beating the New England Patriots on television in front of a national audience, and they squeaked out the win at the end. Now they return home where they had lost 2 straight games. Listen, New England doesn't lose many home games. I know home field advantage doesn't matter this year as far as what it's worth at a betting line. Absolutely nothing. I think it's worth 0.2 of a point, like 1/20th, 1/5 of a point or 1/4 of a point at the most, is what the analytics, the quants came up with so far. So yeah, I like New England here. It's a simple case of let's forget what we saw last, and this team's better than what we saw on Monday night. They played Buffalo tough. They played Denver tough. They beat Vegas. And this team is a lot better than what we saw on Monday. 7.5 points, 7 points, I think is too many. I'll take New England. That's also my barking dog, so I'm even saving time on that segment.
There we go. Marco, your thoughts on the Sunday night game? We saw Monday night where the Bucs decided to protect themselves in a teaser situation with the Pats. It didn't matter. The Pats ended up getting the win. You ended up winning your teaser. Your thoughts on Sunday night?
Yeah, but we had to sweat to get that teaser home, Kelly. His forehead up here just keeps getting, keeps going back. We're retreating, and, that's what happens with these kind of games. And how about everybody in survivor pools? Had New England over the Jets or had Pittsburgh over Dallas. Crazy stuff last week with that. But, Kelly, I'm going to go to another total in this one. And I do agree with everything that Gianni said with this game as far as the dog goes. And let's look at the total. Anybody that watched last Monday night's game, and we talked about it, on paper, that looked like a stone cold under. How was anybody going to score any points in that game? You had New England, who had been struggling. You have the Jets, who have the worst offense in the league, maybe of all time. You look at the historic numbers they've had, and what they do? They put up an offensive shootout on Monday night, 30-27. So being that this is another primetime game, the public remembers what they saw last. And they saw New England hang up 30, but more importantly, they saw New England give up 27 to the Jets. John Q. Public's going to overreact and say, if the Jets can score 27, what's Baltimore going to do? And they're going to look at this total of 43.5, and they're going to run to the window and bet the over. Well, go ahead, and I hope you do it with both hands, because I'm going to be waiting right before game time to come in and hammer the under in this one. I'm going under 43.5. I think you'll get your best number about an hour before kickoff on Sunday, after everybody tallies up how they stand for the day, after the late games settle on Sunday, and they got to do those Baltimore and over parlays to get out Sunday night, and those teasers. We know what's happening. But look at this game. Baltimore wants to run the football. That's what they do, as I talked about their game last week with Indianapolis. And let's be realistic. New England's offense is not good. Their defense is good. I think last week they just looked past the Jets. They thought they could just show up and beat the Jets because they're so bad, and they were in for a surprise. And once the Jets got a couple quick scores, it changes the pace of the game. And that's how we got to the over. We're not going to see that this week. I like this one under. And prior to last week's 30-point outburst by New England, their previous 3 games, they scored a grand total of 39 points. Baltimore's got a pretty good defense. And if Baltimore does have the lead, they're going to continue to run the football. And if New England has the lead, they're going to want to protect it too. I'm going under 43.5. And I know you got to hold your breath when you're betting unders in the NFL this year. I haven't played a lot of them, but this is
that takes guts, my man. That's gutsy.
All right, guys, that's it for our primetime segment. Don't forget, we do a Monday Night Football edition every single Monday at 11 a.m. Pacific. We're going to take a little quick commercial break. When we get back, it's going to be Inside the Numbers from our friends over at the Westgate.
Every Monday at WagerTalk.com, all plays are just $9. This even includes top-rated 5% plays, which normally sell for $40. There's no better day to get winning picks than $9 Mondays at WagerTalk.com and our sister site, SportsMemo.com.
Only $99 for the gold sheet for the rest of the season? That's right. The Big Ten, Pac-12, and MAC are just getting started. The college football season is going deep into December. We'd like to offer you the rest of the 2020 college football season for only $99. That's right. You get expert analysis, power ratings, stats, and more for both college football and NFL. This $99 special also includes all of the college football bowl games and takes you through the Super Bowl. Just go to www.goldsheet.com/WagerTalk and use the code CFB is back. add on the Gold Sheet Extra and CKO for the best bang for your buck. All right, guys, now it is time for Inside the Westgate. Look at headlines. Don't forget, these are a 12-day number that the Westgate puts out. Kind of gives us a little insight to maybe where the sharp guys are betting early. Speaking of sharp guys, VR asked me to flip this segment. He wants to go first. He's got a little bit of gold for you guys. Tampa Bay at North Carolina. Tampa Bay opened a 6-point favorite after they got blown out at home. Now they are a 4.5-point favorite. Looks like here currently, there's some fives around there as well. VR had maybe mentioned that some sharp guys played this one.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to bring this up, because I actually changed my opinions and even my bet. So I wanted to share that information, because immediately when the lines go up, I'm trying to beat the market, trying to determine which way the lines are going to go, trying to put a better ticket in my pocket, the one it's going to close at. Over and over again, long term, we turn a profit. We all know that. More times than not, I've been able to guess right, but there's going to be those times you guess wrong. And when that happens, you have to decide, what am I going to do? Am I going to just ride it through and hope for the best? Am I going to, admit maybe I was wrong and take a second look? Am I even going to go and change my mind and bet on top of it? And depending on the situation, the choices sometimes are obvious, sometimes they're not. For me in this one, it was. Here's what I mean. I liked Carolina at first because I didn't like what I saw from Tampa Bay, but more importantly, I liked what I saw from Carolina. I had them big against Kansas City, and I started worrying in the second half when Kansas City got that lead up to like 7 or 8 points. But the fact that Carolina didn't quit, didn't allow the wheels to fall off, came back, punched them right back, kept counter punching them, and watching Teddy Bridgewater, running for first downs, and how am I even going to put it? The fact that this team isn't a winning football team, but they're giving you that much effort as a dog, to me is attractive. Because again, you give me 60 minutes of effort, the back door is going to stay open. So I thought there was some value there, but line value there wasn't, meaning power rating wise, Tampa was the side. But I went with Carolina, bet Carolina. This morning, one of the guys I respect the most comes in on Tampa Bay, comes in pretty hard on Tampa Bay. So I look at the game a little bit harder, a little more. And, I agree with them. Actually, I missed so many things. So I like the Tampa Bay side. I agree with this move. I thought it should have went down like it did at first, kind of like everyone else. But when it did, those sharp guys stuck to their power ratings. That's why this line's going back up. And I tend to agree with them. So as it stands, I now have exposure on the side of Tampa Bay and not on Carolina, if that makes sense.
All right, Marco, Denver at the Raiders. The Raiders open a 4-point favorite, now -5. This is kind of interesting here. This is an AFC West matchup that I've always wanted to look towards the underdog here, but this Raiders team's playing pretty well as of late. Do you think the line move is justified?
No, I don't, Kelly. And the reason I don't is if you look deeper into the Raiders games, everybody's looking at they've won 3 of their last 4. And, even beat writers here in Vegas are starting with the headline, hey, the Raiders are legit. Well, I don't know which games you're watching, but it's not the same that I'm watching. They beat Cleveland 2 weeks ago. 2 things in that game. That was a game that had horrific wins. Well, the Raiders have a tremendous edge with the running game, and they were able to dominate the game on the ground, plus the fact that Cleveland didn't have Beckham. That was his first game with him out of the lineup. So, and they were coming off a last-second win the week before. So I'm not putting a lot of stock into that game with the Raiders in what they did. And then you go last week to the Charger game. The Raiders actually lost the yardage battle to the Chargers. It was just the Chargers, as we've seen all year long. They can't close out games. It would have been ironic for them last week to close it out because they came from behind and had the opportunity to win the game, and for a brief second thought they did win the game, but the final play of the game got overturned and was ruled incomplete, and they didn't get the winning touchdown. And Denver, everybody's looking at Denver and saying, hey, they got beat by Atlanta. Atlanta's a bad team. Yeah, Atlanta's a bad team, but they still got a great offense, and they had extra days to prepare. But if you actually look at the box score in that one, Atlanta didn't win the stats battle. Denver did. I think this is an overreaction to the public perception. But if you look inside the numbers, Denver's the side.
I'm in agreement there. It makes me awful nervous to back this Denver Broncos team once again. They almost gave me a heart attack 2 weeks ago. Speaking of a heart attack, you didn't have one if you bet either one of these teams, bet against either one. San Francisco at New Orleans. New Orleans just smacked the Bucs in the mouth for the second time this year. And San Francisco is just so banged up. But for some reason, they got some sharp money late on Thursday night. VR, New Orleans opened a 6.5-point favorite, now -9. Do you think that that's just the Bucs' way of protecting themselves from a teaser?
It is, and I'm in no rush to bet the Saints, but I'm in no rush to grab the points either with San Francisco. But the move is warranted. I'll tell you, there's a lot of guys that I respect that have the Saints as one on their power ratings, if not one or number two. The analytics guys really love this team for some reason. I used them last week as my 5% play. They came through. They got it done. I agree. I think they're as legit as it comes. They have all the pieces to make a Super Bowl run. But we know in football, being a small sample size sport, the cream doesn't always rise to the top. But occasionally you do get that what's on paper transpire onto the field. And we saw that with the New Orleans Saints last week when they played the perfect game against Tampa Bay. So I think that's why you're seeing this line move. I do think it's warranted. I don't think it's a ton of sharp steam action trying to get down on New Orleans before the line moves high. I think it's a combination of both. The books protecting themselves and some money coming in on New Orleans when the line opened just because of how good they look, coupled with the injuries to San Francisco. I just think it's the perfect storm for the line to move in that direction, and it makes sense that it did.
Okay, last but not least, Minnesota at Chicago. Chicago was a 2-point favorite. Now the line is flipped. Minnesota is now -2.5. Marco, this Vikings team has been playing well since the bye week. Chicago, one of those divisional dogs, or divisional home dogs, that I love to bet. Your thoughts on this NFC North matchup?
Oh, Kelly, this is one of those spots where we're going to throw out my saying, no team's as good as their worst game or their best game. And this is just a total overreaction by the public and the lines makers flip-flopping this. You're going to tell me based off of last week's results, because Minnesota beat Detroit? Detroit's been a dumpster fire all season. Where's the benefit of that? And then you look at Chicago, they lose to Tennessee. Well, remember, just 3 weeks back, Tennessee was playing Pittsburgh as the two undefeated teams, the battle of the unbeatens. This is just an overreaction in epic proportions. And Kelly, when we get to the next section, I'll talk a little more about this because this has got teaser written all over it, where I feel the wrong team's favorite, and we're going to get points with them, and we're going to get them through the key numbers, and we're going to get it in a game that has a low total. So I'll talk a little more as we segue into the teasers.
Well, you just segued for us, Marco. I'm going to start with you. Go ahead and talk about your teaser for NFL week number 10.
All right, this teaser this week is so automatic for me. This is plus EV, both sides with the games. We'll start with the Chicago since we left off there. You're getting a Monday night home division dog, which, was embarrassed again last week. The key for Chicago and why they're struggling offensively is they cannot run the football. They got to find a way to run the football to take some pressure off of Foles. He can't throw the football 50 plus times a game and be successful. But I just don't see Minnesota getting separation. Minnesota, we've seen the problems they've had defensively this year. The offense, whenever Dalvin Cook's in there, is good, but the defense is still bad. I think Chicago keeps this within the 8.5. You take the 6-point teaser. We're getting 2.5 right now. Lock in that 8.5. And Kelly, how many times have we seen these games where the line flip-flopped from the look ahead, but by time we get to game day, you start to see that line creeping back down to where it was originally, that pick 'em, and sometimes we've seen it cross back over to -1. So lock it in now while you're getting the 8.5. For the second half of this one, we're going to go with the same formula. I'm going to look at the LA Superchargers, and I'm not buying into Miami. I know everybody's in love with Miami. Again, if you look at the 2 games they've won with Tua in there, they're doing it with smoke and mirrors. This team is getting outgained badly in all of the contests. They benefited last week, Miami, going into Arizona. Arizona had a key turnover, but Arizona still had over 450 yards of offense in there. This is a team that a defense, because they shut the Jets out 3 weeks ago and held the Rams to 17 points in a bad scheduling spot. And if you remember and go back and look at that game, the Rams had 4 turnovers and had almost 500 yards of offense in that game. It was a total misleading final score. I'm grabbing the Chargers, who've been competitive in all of their games. Yeah, they find ways to lose, but they don't get blown out. I'm not jumping on the Dolphin bandwagon just yet. You give me over a touchdown, asking a team that's just learning to win. Yeah, they've won 4 in a row. They beat up a banged-up 49er team, a dismal Jets team, a Rams team that played on Monday night and had to cross country to play the game. And then last week, Arizona, which missed the game-tying field goal at the end of the game and dominated the stats. Not for me. That's my teaser, Chicago and the Chargers.
I'm with you on the Chargers and the teaser. They got it done for me last week. I like it again this week. VR, who is your teaser for NFL Week 10?
All right. Well, you got the first half of my teaser with that Thursday night game where I took the Colts. And like I said, this is a premium play. This is the 1 week, the first time on the show where I actually released the teaser, prior to taping. Usually I give one out, which I think is plus EV. And then on the weekend, if I see something that jumps out at me, I'll release. Otherwise, I don't really use a lot of teasers. But I did this week, and the second half is the Seattle Seahawks. Took them up to +8. I think now you could probably, it moved down even more since I released it. But as long as you're getting past that key 7, that's the goal. You could go back and check bet on it week, I think 1, 2, 3, or 4, where we broke down what you're looking for when you bet teasers, what makes them plus EV, why they're negative EV most other times. And I think these are 2 teams that are very comparable offensively, and it looks like the Rams are a lot better defensively, at least on paper. DVOA, they're 8th compared to Seattle's 24th. And special teams, Seattle's just so much better than the Rams. That doesn't really offset the defense, but I don't think the Rams defense is as good as that reflects. You got to look, they play teams like Washington and Chicago and the New York Giants, and not the best offensive juggernauts in the NFL. So I think, again, you can only play who's in front of you, but I think they're getting a little more credit than they're worth. I think the line's on point, and because of that, getting those extra 6 gets us over that hump because we get through 3, we get through 7 on a line that is pretty much on point. So we'll take Seattle with Indianapolis. I took them both at +8. Right now, I'm not sure if they're still +8, but if they're not at higher than +7, I wouldn't bet it.
All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, we're going to find out the deli's open. We know VR's got his Steam game of the week, and then a time for a little TNA with Ralph Michaels.
Have you checked out WagerTalk today? It's Sports Center for gamblers. Watch Teddy Covers and the Prez along with expert guests, a bookmaker, and Ralph Michaels as they break down the games for that day. The show airs Monday through Friday from noon to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This show will give you betting insights for all the key games that day and advanced looks at key weekend games in every major sport. WagerTalk today will tell you how to bet the games, where the money is going, and who the wise guys are playing. Teddy and the Prez are a must-watch as their chemistry or lack of is entertaining as hell. So if you want to laugh, have fun, and make money, check out WagerTalk today, weekdays from noon to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Get $25 in WagerBucks added to your account after your first purchase at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com. This is just our way of saying thank you for joining the WagerTalk and Sports Memo family.
All right, it's that time. VR has some gold for you guys in his Steam game of the week.
I released this immediately as soon as the line opened up, probably before the Monday night game was over, I believe. I was on Philadelphia against the New York Giants at -3. Philly coming off that bye, the forgotten team. And the Giants, having covered 5 of their last 6, are definitely overvalued in this betting market. And I think that's the reflection of this line. So I wasn't surprised afterwards when you saw sharp money get involved before this line goes through that key number of 3. But rest assured, when Sunday comes around, I think you're going to get some Giants money from recreational bettors. They're a divisional home dog. You could tease them up to just about double digits. So I don't think the books are going to be stuck betting against the sharps who are on Philadelphia. Bottom line is this: Philadelphia is just the much better team, especially on the defensive side of the ball, where the Giants just can't stop anybody. Again, they've covered some games of late, and that's a good thing. They even beat the Washington Redskins twice, may I add, by a combined 4 points. But I think the Eagles, who played them in a tough game the first time around, Giants played them tough then. Remember, they only lost that game by a point. I think they're going to get Philly's full attention coming off that bye. Again, that's been baked into the cake, so you don't really get value on favorites coming out of the bye like you did a decade ago. But I do think this is a good spot. I bet Philly is a 4% play, so I back that opinion with money.
I like it. All right, Marco, your sandwich game last week, I think I gave out on every single media outlet I did. I loved it. John Murray gave me the go-ahead and said, look, people are coming to the window, betting the Seattle Seahawks hand over fist as a short road favorite, as they always love to do. This week, the deli's back open. We have another huge sandwich spot. Go ahead and tell the viewers what you like this week for NFL week number 10.
Yeah, Kelly, the deli is open this week. And, after Buffalo last week, did you see all my Yelp reviews? We got all 4-star ratings on Yelp. It's great. Everybody's loving it. Well, we're coming with a blue plate special. This is the first time this year we don't have that double meat sandwich and, piled high. It's an open face sandwich. Now, I don't know if you've ever had one of those, Kelly. They're pretty good. And what we've got here and why it's an open face instead of a normal sandwich, we need bread top and bottom. That means we have to have a big game the week before, big game on deck. But this week, we don't have one on deck because the team we're going against is going to go on a bye next week. But let's look at what they've done in the recent weeks. And we're going to go right back to the Buffalo Bills. Only this week, we're going to go against the Buffalo Bills. They're coming off a schedule where they played Kansas City 4 games ago. That was a game got shuffled around. It was supposed to be a primetime Thursday game. Then it ended up being a primetime Tuesday game. Then they played the lowly Jets. Okay, we'll forget about that one. But then they played New England, their biggest nemesis, the team that they have to slay to claim the crown in the AFC East this year. They did it. And then they followed that up with the big sandwich spot last week. We caught Seattle off a monumental game, and they took them out behind the woodshed. Yeah, it looks like a 10-point final, but it was never really that close. Buffalo scored on almost every possession in the first half. I don't think they punted till sometime in the third quarter. And now they got to go cross-country and play Arizona. What I say last week about Seattle, going cross-country, playing a road game against a non-conference team. That is the least important game on the schedule. Buffalo is feeling all fat and sassy. Arizona's coming off a misleading loss. Everybody's going to look and say, hey, they came out of the break and they stumbled against the Miami Dolphins. Hey, they put up 31 points. They had almost 450 yards of offense in that game. Kyler Murray is the real deal. This guy has made the biggest improvement from year one to year two of the quarterbacks this year. I like Arizona in this spot. I'm laying the small number. This is a flat spot for Buffalo. And let's not forget, as good as Buffalo's been playing, that defense is still bad. They're giving up a ton of points and yards in every game. I think Arizona gets it done. Everybody's going to be looking to the live puppy here on Buffalo. Nope, it's Buffalo not this week. We put them in the sandwich. We're taking Arizona as the open face sandwich special. Blue plate special, Kelly. Enjoy it.
Mark, I'm not old enough for a blue plate special, but I'm with you here. You got to go against now the public darling of the week in the Buffalo Bills. Time for some TNA with Ralph Michaels. We're going to take a quick commercial break after that. And when we come back, it is my favorite segment, the Barking Dogs. Ralph Michaels, I cannot believe we've made it to NFL Week 10. This is just wild. Seems like the season is just flying by, and every single day on your Twitter account, you are just posting stat after stat. You hit 20,000 followers yesterday, so congratulations to you. That being said, if you guys aren't following Ralph, you are missing out. Lots of trends and angles on both sides of the spectrum to help you with your handicapping. Ralph, NFL Week 10, what have you dug up for us, my man?
Well, Kelly, let's continue in that same vein. A lot of new people that follow me think that I tweet out a trend and that means I want you to bet it. That's certainly not the case. I'm tweeting out trends because, number one, they're interesting. Number two, it gets you to handicap a different method. And it should just be part of your handicap. And by no means should you base a trend. So let me start off simply by saying this. The Rams are playing the Seahawks this week. If I just tweeted out, the Rams are 1-11 over under as a favorite, I'm going to get some people that are going to say, okay, I'm going to bet the under. The Rams are a favorite this week, and I'm going to bet the under. Then, how about if I tweeted this? The Seahawks are 8-0 over under as a dog. I would get people betting Seattle. It's the exact same game. So while I'm giving you trends and angles that are positive or negative for one team, when you're looking for trends and angles, it's as important to know the trends and angles against your team, those bad angles. So again, the Rams 1-11, the Seahawks 8-0, the exact same game. One's a favorite, one's a dog, but we're going to throw out the game because of it. I will say this, couple over-under angles that do apply this week. The Bills are now 9-30-1 as an away dog with a total of 39 or more. So that's 77% to the under. So in 40 games when the Bills have been an away dog, only 9 overs and 30 unders. And the Detroit Lions, they're 2-8 ATS at home, but when they're at home, they are also 9-0-1 over under. Their defense gives up a lot of yards. Their offense keeps scoring as well. So keep an eye on the Bills under and the Lions over. Back to the basics, Kel, and I know you love playing a lot of money line teams when you're on the road. We wanted to know how much this 2020 home field edge is affected by the COVID this year. Well, here are some facts. From 2011 to 2019, away teams in the NFL won 42.6%. So we're going to round to 43%. This year in the NFL, away teams have won 53.5% straight up. So that is a 10% increase on road teams winning straight up relative to the previous 10 seasons. I mentioned this one couple.
Sorry, not to cut you off. Do you think that means that because there's no home field advantage, there's no fans, that it's benefiting some of these away teams? Or do you think that maybe this is just kind of a coincidence? What are your thoughts in regards to that?
I think it's clearly benefiting the away teams. When you see a lot of these road quarterbacks that are veterans getting the home team to jump off sides, that would never happen when there's crowd noise. And we see that more and more, that, you line up for that 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1, and quarterbacks like Rodgers and and Breeze, when you jump offside, they get those free plays. And how many free plays do we see them throwing downfield, let alone getting a first down? It's led to many deep passes as well. So I think there's a huge correlation on the road team without that crowd noise, having those 4, 5, or 6 meaningful plays where you would never have in the past. And that's been the difference.
Okay, thank you.
Kelly, I mentioned this a couple weeks ago, and I want to mention it again. You know, the over-unders this year to date, are 56%. We had another big over weekend this past weekend. So Vegas makes adjustments, start raising the line. We get a couple weeks of under, they start dropping the lines down. But this is one statement that has held true for the entire season. Over-unders are at 56% year to date. When a total is 48 or less, we are only 32 and 36. We are actually 53% to the under with a total of 48 or less. When a total is 48 and a half or higher, we are at 66.7% to the over. And again, we've mentioned this before. Sometimes you can't place the total as high as it should be. When you have defenses like Seattle that are so porous and Atlanta, a total might be 56 value-wise, but Vegas is opening it at 52 or 53 and letting people bet it up. So don't be afraid. If you really like these high totals, don't be afraid to bet them over the total because, again, totals of 48 and a half or higher have gone over 67% this year. Couple systems. And again, just a quick synopsis. Systems are situations that any team fits in those, it works, versus a trend or an angle, which is much more team specific. But how about this easy one? It applies to the Eagles this week against the New York Giants. You're an away favorite of 3 or more. You were off a win, and you're off a bye. So the Eagles, prior to their bye, won their game. So you're in positive momentum mode. You are rested. You are an away favorite of 3 or more, so you are clearly the better team. Since 2000, 21 years, this has been a 73% system going 43 and 16. And I just want to end it on an opposite note now. That's a positive situation with a team that won before a bye, had a bye week, and is now the better team. Don't always think the bye week is a positive. Listen to this situation which fades Cleveland and fades the LA Rams. Teams at home, off a bye, that scored 21 or less before the bye. So you didn't have a great offensive performance. You scored 21 points or less, but you are rested and you are at home. Vegas has adjusted on a line. People perceive that as a very positive situation. You're rested, you're at home, you're ready to go. Those teams, like Cleveland and the LA Rams, have gone 19, 47, and 2, only 28.8% against the spread. So by fading those teams, that is a 71% play on situation for Houston and Seattle.
I like that last one a lot, Ralph. I guess our viewers will have to figure out why in our best bet segment. Speaking of best bet segment, when we come back, it's Barking Dogs and your favorite segment, this week's Best Bets.
Did you know every Tuesday is $2 Tuesday at WagerTalk.com? We pick the hottest handicapper and offer his best bet for just $2. This is a great way to introduce yourself to the winning handicappers at WagerTalk and SportsMemo.com.
The dogs are snoring to my left. Apologies if you guys are hearing that one. That is my French Bulldog, Coco. This is her favorite segment, of course, the Barking Dogs. All right, Marco, you've already touched on it a little bit. I'm going to let you go first. Who is your Barking Dog for this week?
All right, well, maybe we'll wake Coco up with this one because I'm going with the LA Chargers. I talked about them in my teaser section. I love them on a teaser, and I love them straight up in this game against Miami. And I'll be brief because we already broke it down, but I saved a couple stats for this segment. Yeah, they're 2-0 with Tua. But do you realize that in the 2 games that Tua has started, the Miami Dolphins have been outgained by a combined 913 yards to 457. That's pretty significant. They also enjoyed a 5-2 turnover edge. I'm going to use my buddy's phrase again. Miami, 4 wins. They're as phony as a $3 bill right now if you look at the stats. And I look at Justin Herbert for the Chargers. Man, you talk about hitting the ground running. This guy didn't have the starting job at the beginning of the year, got the job by a fluke when Tyrod Taylor, they screwed up in the pregame, giving him a shot and screwed up his lung. Now he's in there, and the guy has thrown for 936 yards in the last 3 games. And the running game is working as well because he's helping open up those running lanes by them having to respect the pass. They've run for 473 in those 3 games. I'll go ahead and take the Chargers. Hope they don't find a way to lose the game again. But you know what? I'll trust them here against a team that's just learning how to win, and now you're installing them as a favorite. Nah, I'm not buying it. I'll take the Chargers.
Marco, you called it. You just woke Coco up. Your barking dog is so ugly. She's standing here staring at me going, what the hell is Marco thinking? I love those ones just like this. So ugly. It terrifies you. But against a Dolphins team that's getting a little too much respect these days, Marco and I are on the same side. VR, you already alluded to your barking dog this week. Who we taking?
Yeah, I sent 2 plays out while we were doing this show. It is a great time of the day come Wednesday. I love it. I'll be real quick because I gave it earlier as New England, and the reason was I had to switch off of my Carolina. I was going to choose between New England and a Cincinnati. We bet Cincinnati plus 7.5, but that's off the board now. I think that was simply a move of guys trying to get out ahead of that injury, the quarterback situation for the Steelers. So I didn't use that with subscribers or anything like that. I'm just sharing it with you. So I'll use my 2 minutes that I have real quickly. The first 8 weeks, 10 weeks of the season, I harped and preached about placing good bets. For the second half of the season, you're going to hear nothing but bet size. We're going to focus on proper bet sizing because if you don't bet size correctly, I can't help you. Nobody can help you. And what I mean by that is best bets are 6-3 in NFL, 3-1 college football. If you start increasing your bet size, the past becomes irrelevant. And the only thing that matters is the future. So all that work goes to waste. If you start betting double, you now have to win twice at that amount to not lose all that hard work. So you got to be smart and bet size correctly. And 99 out of 100 casual bettors should never adjust bets more than 1. And what I mean by that is decide your bet size for your average bet and just have 1 increment for your best bets, nothing else. Make that as automatic as it comes. Never have to think about what you're going to bet. Focus on finding what you're going to bet, but already have that mapped out. I bet 100 on everything. I bet 150 on best bets. That problem's solved. That'll never change. Whether I'm 15-0 or 0-15, that's going to be the same. If you can do that, you're so far ahead of the game. Just try it. Try it for a month, even with $10. Straight bet everything and don't change it. Bet $10 straight, and on your best bet, bet it for 15. 1 or 2 a day or a week. I don't care. Because it's so hard for most bettors to determine the value between one play and the other. I mean, in blackjack, an advantage player can tell you before every hand pretty much exactly what your edge is. Half the time it's negative. You know the house has the edge and you're playing negative EV games, but you have to. In sports, that's not the case. We could pick our spots, but you got to be very selective when you manage your money. And what I mean by that is make it simple. Bet size consistently, whether you're winning or losing, running hot or cold, stick to the proper bet size. So the next 8 weeks, you're going to hear that over and over again. If you don't like it, go back to the first 10 weeks and learn how to place good bets first, and then we'll teach you how to manage that money.
I love it. VR always trying to make you guys better bettors.
That's what I want to do.
I love it. And that's what we're here for, is to educate and sometimes entertain the leprechaun himself, throwing gold, and also teaching you guys with the big chalkboard Hope everybody's taking notes. It is everybody else's favorite time of the show. It is best bet week. I need to bounce back here, so I guess I'm going to go first. Okay. All right, my best bet this week. Look, I started the show off by saying how much I hated this week's NFL card. This was tough, but I'm going to take a situation here and hope that Seattle can bounce back for us. We know I like betting those divisional underdogs. And Russell Wilson is a great divisional underdog, particularly off a loss. I stole this one from our good friend Mark Lawrence and his playbook. Russell Wilson, 13-1 straight up and 10-3-1 against the spread coming off a loss. And this is also more of a play against the LA Rams. I'm not sure this game shouldn't be closer to a pick 'em. Rams 4-15 against the spread as single-digit home favorites. We bet against the Seattle team last week in a sandwich spot, as Marco mentioned. I do think that they're going to get a bounce back here against the Rams. This one's already moved from 2 to 1.5. I hammered Seattle in all of my teasers. I did kind of a round robin teaser like we've been talking about for the last few weeks. I think Seattle wins the game at this point. Might as well just play the money line. All right, Marco, you are up next. Who is your best bet for this week?
Well, Kelly, I'm going to go with the game that Ace already had as one of his plays, but I'm making it my best bet. And I'm going with the Philadelphia Eagles. And I got several reasons why. But I'm going to start off and say, Kelly, you know how you and I always talk. We try to say, where's that public dog? Who is that darling dog that everybody has no problem lining up to take? Well, I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to give you the warning. It's going to be the New York Giants this week. People are going to look at them, and what they're going to see is the Giants playing good football the last couple games. Yeah, they're only 2-2 straight up, but this is a team that's 5-1 against the spread. They're also going to point out the fact that they just played a couple weeks ago in Philadelphia. They were getting 4.5 at Philadelphia, and they only lose by a point. Now they're coming home. They're getting 3.5. This is like stealing. No, it's not. And here's why. When they played Philadelphia a couple weeks ago, Philadelphia was coming off a horrible schedule. Philadelphia played 3 weeks prior to that. They played at San Francisco on a Sunday night game. Then they played at Pittsburgh the following week, played a late game on the West Coast, travel back home, go back out on the road again to Pittsburgh, a physical team. What'd they do after that? They followed it up with another physical team, the Baltimore Ravens. These defenses pound you when they come at you. We saw all the games with Pittsburgh and Baltimore, and years ago there used to be a stat before they changed the rules that you can't hit anybody anymore. Teams that played Pittsburgh the following week, they were horrible against the spread because they were all beat up. Well, after that stretch, they had to come back 2 physical games and play a Thursday night game. Only 3 days to recuperate. No, the Philadelphia was in a bad spot in that game, and they were banged up. They've had injuries all year. Now they're coming off their bye week. They get a week to heal up. They get 2 weeks to prepare for nothing other than the New York Giants, a team that they know they only beat by 1 point at home. And if you remember earlier in the year, I said it was one of my favorite angles. And I ended up getting a push out of the game. And my 2 co-hosts here on the show got a win because a guy missed the extra point. But anytime a team wins but doesn't cover that game, the first meeting at home, and then they're a small favorite on the road in the rematch, I'm always there. And that was the Cleveland-Cincinnati game earlier this season. I'm doing the same thing here. I'm coming with Philadelphia, and we're going to lay the points on the road. They get the job done. This is my best bet.
All right, VR, it is time for all the gold in the Bet On It world. Who is your best bet for this week?
I'm going to go with a total. I'm 6-3 on best bets right now, but what's really important is you got to focus on, again, I'm going to keep saying it, proper bet sizing so we stay ahead. Because I don't want to get too excited. It's dangerous to get too excited. We've been on a great run, 70% over my last 81 bets, not 8, not 18, 81. But I don't want you to be misled. I know a lot of you guys signed up with me. And listen, over 1,000 bets, I'm 55%. I'm telling you now. over 1,000 gold, I'm close to 60. It's not going to get better than that. It's not going to get much worse than that. I'm not going to be 70% every 80 bets. So if that's what you expect, I'm going to disappoint you and break your heart, and don't even waste your money, because this doesn't happen every day. I'm running really, really, really hot right now. And just like you have negative fluctuations, you also have positive fluctuations. But do not get misled in thinking this is what it's like. This is how easy it is. And VR just pulls out all these winners and he's a personal ATM. I'm sorry, I wish I was, but it's just not that easy. Again, I'm 55% over 1,000 regular and closer to 60 over 1,000 gold. That's the best I can do. And if you can make money off that, good. If you can make money fading it, God bless you, fade me. I went under 48 Chargers, Miami. We actually bet under 49. I released it a half point or a point worse because I know lines are going to give us respect. And it's still 48 right now. Bottom line, because I used most of my minute for explanation, but I'll give you a little reasoning real quick. You need two teams to get an over. And the bottom line is this Miami defense does not allow a lot of points. And I think that the Chargers are a little phony, especially on the offensive side of the ball, where they average 16.4 yards per point. That's not all that great. When you look at the Miami defense, 19.1 yards per point defensively. At home, even higher, 21.5. You're not going to score a lot on the Miami Dolphins. And I think you're going to see a lot lower scoring game than what you've seen from these two teams over the last couple of weeks. Remember, the Chargers put up points against the Raiders, against Jacksonville. If I'm not, I think one's 30th, the other's 32nd in defensive DVOA. So again, that we got some skewed, misleading data to take advantage of. I think this total was too high at 49. It's still too high at 48. Should be around 45, 45 and a half. So we're going under Chargers, Miami. Best bet.
All right. Great stuff from both guys. VR, I hate to bring it to you, but you are a personal ATM. So is Marco, at least when it comes to sandwiches. The deli just likes to print money. That being said, I got to pick it up this week. When we come back from our last commercial break, well, second to last commercial break, sorry about that. We're going to talk about our college best bets. Then we're going to wrap it all up and put a nice, pretty bow on it for you guys.
Marco D'Angelo has been red hot in college football, winning 8 of his last 10 college plays as he enters this week's action. This Saturday, Marco is releasing his 5% college game of the month along with all his other college plays all in one package. Marco's October college game of the month was Auburn +2, a 48-11 winner. Get this special package for just $39. Go to Marco's homepage at WagerTalk.com now to purchase this package.
All right, it's time for those college football best bets. If they could all be as easy as they were last week with Iowa, I would be a happy woman. So this week, we're going to go against one of my favorite trends. I love betting against those ranked teams catching points. There's a couple of them this week, but I went with the Virginia Tech Hokies. Now, I know this team lost to Liberty last week as 17.5-point favorites. Oh, no, the travesty. But let's not forget, Miami was life and death on the road against NC State. This is a Hokies team that I think bounces back in a big way. They are a really solid team here. I think this defense steps up and beats Miami. I'm taking the Hokies -2.5 at home. Marco, who is your best bet for this week in college football?
Well, Kelly, I'm going to the ACC as well. And I got scared there for a moment when you started to say Virginia, because I'm going against Virginia, but then you added Tech there, so that's okay. And you've been dynamite with your college best bets all year, Kelly, so kudos to you. I'm looking at Louisville in this game, and they're coming off an unplanned week off last week as they had issues with COVID. They had to shut everything down. But as of Sunday, everything was back to normal for Louisville. So now they've got Virginia in their sights. And this is a team that's coming off a gut-wrenching loss against your Virginia Tech Hokies. They lost 42-35. They put up over 500 yards of offense in that game. And to be honest, the last 2 weeks, they've really been rolling offensively. They just drilled Florida State the week before that. I look at this Virginia team, and they've been a disappointment for sure this year. And I'm going to go against them. They scored 44 last week in the victory. Problem is they gave up 41 to North Carolina, was able to hang on for the win. But if you look at 4 of their last 5 games, they have given up 38 or more points. I can't see them laying points in this game. I like Louisville. I'll go ahead and take them. In those couple losses that Louisville had, they took Notre Dame to the limit. We saw what Notre Dame was last week against Clemson. Granted, it was without Trevor Lawrence, but still, Notre Dame is one of the top teams in the country. And this Louisville team went on the road and only lost by 5 at Notre Dame. I'll take them here, Kelly. That's my best bet.
All right, VR, who is your best bet for this week in college football?
I'm going square, and I'm going prime time. We're getting involved Friday night on the Iowa Hawkeyes. We bet -2.5, -115. I bet it at -3, released it at 3. It's now 3.5. Usually if I bet a -2.5 and it goes to 3.5, I'm not going to share that and expect there to be a lot of value still, but that's not the case in this matchup. I think they made a big mistake with this line. It should be a lot higher. The reason it isn't is you're looking at a 1-2 Iowa team. But the reason for that is simple. The 2 games they lost was by a combined 5 points. And I love backing teams like that are under the radar, that are a lot better than their record reflects, and there's still some questions. Because this is a 10-3 team from last year that won their bowl game. I think they were in the Holiday Bowl, if I remember correctly. And they won that game. The question with Iowa was they lost their 4-year senior starter at quarterback. So in comes Petrus. How's he going to do, the redshirt freshman? Well, redshirt sophomore, excuse me. Well, guess what? He's got all 4 of his top wide receivers back. He's got a stud running back, so he's doing just fine. And that's already shown on the field. They put up 49 against Michigan State. Bottom line, they're not giving Minnesota enough. This Minnesota team is bad. They were given 17 to Maryland and lost that game in overtime by a point. Don't let them blowing out Illinois make you think, oh, that was just an anomaly. They're the same team that got blown out by Michigan, lost to Maryland, and on Friday they're going to lose to Iowa. Lay to 3.5 comfortably, or buy the hook and get it down to 3, and you'll have the same number I do. That's on you, but I like Iowa.
All right, great stuff from these guys. We're going to take our last commercial break. When we come back, it's time for a weekly recap.
Gianni the Greek has never had a losing calendar year at WagerTalk ever. So far in November, Gianni the Greek has increased client bankrolls by over 103%, cashing 69% of his client plays as he looks to add another year to the win column for his customers. Right now, you can lock in the entire month of December for less than the cost of a 30-day all-access pass. And if you buy now, we will include the rest of November for free. If you're currently an all-access pass with Ace, the remaining days of 2020 will be added on top of the remaining days of your current subscription.
Thank you for hanging out with us on this beautiful Wednesday. It's time to recap NFL Week 10. Start off with the primetime Thursday night game. Marco likes the over in the Colts-Titans game, and VR said the Colts +2 has some value. Don't forget, we all like the Colts this week in a teaser. Marco on Sunday night says, hang tight, no reason to bet it early, but he likes the under 43.5. And VR said some sharp guys agreed with him, and the Patriots +7 looks to be the play for the Sunday night game. As far as those teasers go, Marco's on the Chargers and the Chicago Bears. VR's on the Colts and the Seattle Seahawks, and I'm on all 4. I actually round robined all 4 of those during the show. 2-team, 6-point teasers as always. VR says the steam game of the week is the Philadelphia Eagles coming off that bye, -3.5. And the sandwich game for Marco is actually the opposite of last week. He's now going against the Bills and says lay the 1.5 with the Arizona Cardinals. Time for the barking dogs. Looks like the Chargers +2.5 for Marco. He said the Dolphins are getting just a little too much hype. And back to that primetime game, VR says he's sticking with New England +7. As far as best bets go, I need a bounce back this week. Seattle +2 is going to have to do it for me. Marco in agreement with VR on Philly -3.5. He said he likes it so much it is worth a best bet here. Philly coming off that bye. And VR's best bet is the under 48 in the Chargers-Miami game. I'm going to keep it rolling here with my best bets in college football. They've been doing well for us. I'm going to take Virginia Tech -2.5. Marco is going to take Louisville plus 3.5. And VR says, I don't care if it's square. Iowa -3. It's still okay at 3.5. I'm with you on Friday night there, VR. Thank you guys again for hanging out with us. And we will see you for our Monday night football edition of Bet On It, Monday morning, 11 p.m. Pacific. And we will break down the riveting Monday night football game per usual.